Her father was dying, counting his last breaths, and she, just a poor girl with no power, no money, only love in her heart. So she walked into the lair of the city's coldest billionaire, a man known for crushing hearts. And with trembling hands, she said, "Give me 30 days. Let me try to make you love me. If I fail, throw me away. But if I succeed, please save my father." They laughed at her, mocked her pain. But behind her silence was fire. Murayama woke up to the sound of her father coughing again, dry, painful, and sharp like something was tearing inside him. The roosters had not even crowded yet. The sky was still a deep shade of purple, and the village was quiet. But inside their small, crumbling house, it sounded like death was pacing around the room, waiting. She sat up quickly on the straw mat, her eyes wide with panic. In the next room, her father gasped for breath. Murayama rushed to his side. His body trembled under the faded blue wrapper. His skin looked thinner than paper. His lips were cracked. "Papa," she whispered, sitting beside him and placing a cool cloth on his forehead. He looked at her with sunken eyes and managed a weak smile. "You should be sleeping, my daughter. And let you fight death alone? Never." He chuckled, a sound that ended in another violent cough. Murayama held his hand. It felt like holding a memory, something already fading. The doctor at the small village clinic had said it with no kindness and no sugar. He needs treatment, urgently, or he won't see another month. She had asked, how much? He had written it down and pushed the paper across the table. 1,000,000 naira. Murayama had stared at the figure like it was a foreign language. 1,000,000? Her entire life savings amounted to 15,000. And even that was gone, used up in medicines, transport, and food. The small kiosk she once ran was now an empty wooden shell. No capital, no help, no one left to borrow from. She walked home that day like a ghost. That evening, she stood outside the house and watched the sunset. It painted the sky in golden fire, but she felt nothing. Her heart was numb. Then from the dusty road, she saw something. A billboard being hauled onto a metal frame by two men. On it, the face of a man she knew too well, Darren Chukwuma, the billionaire. His name alone could silence a room. He didn't just own businesses, he owned cities. Hotels, oil companies, tech startups, hospitals. His empire had no end. They called him the Ice King, not because he sold ice, but because his heart was frozen. Rumors said he hadn't smiled since his wife died 5 years ago, that he once sued his own brother, that he had a private dungeon in his mansion, that anyone who crossed him disappeared from the face of the earth. But Murayama wasn't scared of rumors anymore, not when her father was dying. That night, she made a decision. She would go to him, not to beg, not to cry, but to make a deal. The next morning, she wore the only clean dress she had, a faded blue one with tiny embroidered flowers. She braided her hair neatly, tied her mother's scarf around her head, and stepped out. Lagos was 4 hours away. She borrowed transport money from a kind neighbor who had once been her mother's friend. "God go with you," the woman said, pressing coins into her palm. When Murayama arrived in the city, it was like stepping into another world. Tall buildings pierced the sky. Cars zipped past like impatient lightning. People moved fast, dressed in clothes she had only seen in fashion magazines. She took a deep breath and made her way to the headquarters of Chukwuma Global Holdings. The building stood like a monument, glass, steel, and silence. A fountain danced in the middle of the compound. Security men in black suits stood like statues. She approached the gate. One of the guards looked her up and down. "Who are you here to see?" "Darren Chukwuma," she said calmly. He raised an eyebrow. "You have an appointment?" "No, but it's about life and death." He laughed, a bitter, mocking laugh. Everyone's life is in danger these days. Murayama didn't move, didn't blink. Another guard, slightly older, stepped forward. "Let her try. He might be in a bad mood. That's always fun to watch." They escorted her inside. The receptionist at the front desk didn't even look up. "What is your business?" Murayama replied. 5 minutes with Mr. Chukwuma. That's all I ask." She scoffed. "You think this is a food bank?" But then the elevator door opened, and he walked out, tall, dark, impeccably dressed, eyes cold like winter, a man who looked like he'd never smiled in years. Darren Chakuma. He didn't notice her at first. Then she stepped in front of him. "Sir," she said, "please." He stopped, slowly lowered his sunglasses. "Who are you?" She took a shaky breath. "My name is Moriyama. My father is dying. I need money for his treatment, and I have no one else to turn to." He was already turning away. She raised her voice, not begging, but firm. "I want to make you a deal." He turned back. "A deal?" She nodded. "Give me 30 days. Let me stay in your mansion. Let me try to make you love me. And if I fail, I walk away. But if I succeed, you save my father." A pause. Silence swept through the lobby like wind through dry leaves. The receptionist choked on her coffee. A guard stifled a laugh. Darren stared at her like she was an alien. "You think this is a Nollywood audition?" "I think this is my last hope." He stepped closer. "You're saying you want to make me fall in love with you in 30 days? Just to get money?" "No," she said. "To save a life." He raised an eyebrow. Then I chuckled. Interesting. Desperate. Foolish. He turned to his assistant. "She wants to play a game. Let's give her a stage." Then to Moriyama. "Fine. 1 month. You'll live in the mansion. You'll eat what I give. Wear what I say. You'll follow my rules. And remember," he stepped so close she could feel the cold air of his voice, "I don't love. I don't trust them. And I don't break." Moriyama met his eyes. "Then maybe I'm the one sent to teach you how." And so it began. The deal. The gamble. The journey of a girl with nothing, trying to win the heart of a man who had lost everything. Darren Chukwuma's mansion wasn't a house. It was a statement. Guarded by men in black suits, surrounded by 10-foot marble walls, and lined with motion-detecting lights. It looked more like a presidential palace than a home. Moriyama had never seen anything so intimidating in her life. Still, she stood at the gate, gripping the strap of her old handbag like it could protect her. The security guard narrowed his eyes. "Do you have an appointment?" She swallowed hard. "No, but I need to speak to Mr. Darren Chukwuma. Please. It's urgent." He laughed. "You and every girl in this country. Step back before I call the police." Moriyama held her ground. Tell him it's about the bet." The guard stopped laughing. 30 minutes later, she was standing in the marble lobby of the Chukwuma estate. The ceilings reached so high she thought they touched heaven. A butler offered her water. She refused. Her throat was dry, but her courage was fuller than her stomach. Then he entered, Darren Chukwuma. He walked like thunder in human form. Tall, dark, devastatingly handsome. Eyes so sharp they could slice steel. And cold. So cold they didn't just look at you, they judged you. He stood at the top of the grand staircase in a black suit, his hands in his pockets, his face unreadable. "You," he said simply, walking down. "You're the girl from the charity event." Moriyama nodded. "Yes." Moriyama bellowed. He reached the bottom step and stared at her like she was a riddle. "You slapped me." Her eyes burned. "You insulted a sick child." He smirked. "Fair. So, why are you here now? To slap me again?" "No." Her voice trembled. "I came to make a deal." He raised one brow. "A deal? With me?" Moriyama took a shaky breath. "I need 1 million naira. My father is dying. He needs treatment. I have no one else. But I remember something you said." His eyes darkened. "What did I say?" "You told your friend, and I quote, 'No girl in this country can make me fall in love, not even in a year.' And he laughed and said, 'Not even in a month?' And you said, 'Never.'" A long silence. Then he chuckled. "You were eavesdropping?" "I was cleaning at the hotel." "I heard you." He folded his arms. "So what? You want to win that bet?" Moriyama lifted her chin. "Yes, I want to prove you wrong. I want to make you fall in love. With me, in 30 days. He laughed. A deep, rich sound that echoed around the marble. "You're serious?" Dead silence. Her eyes didn't flinch. "All right," he said. "Let's make it interesting. If you succeed, I'll pay for your father's treatment. Fully. If you fail, I'll leave. No money. No help. Nothing." He studied her face. "Do you even know what you're saying? You're stepping into the lion's den. You think I'm just cold? I'm worse. I destroy people, Mariama. I don't fall in love." "Then consider this your greatest challenge," she said, voice shaking. "Let me try." He turned away, walked to a window, and stared out. The silence hung like smoke. Then he turned back. "Fine. 30 days. Starting today. You will live here. Follow my rules. And if I catch even a hint of manipulation or lies, game over." Mariama's knees almost gave way. "Thank you." He didn't smile. "Don't thank me. You'll regret this by day 3. Day 1. Her room was bigger than her entire house back in the village. White curtains, gold pillows, a view of the ocean. It looked like a princess's dream, but it felt like a cage. Mariama sat on the edge of the bed, her hands trembling. What had she done? She had offered her heart to a man made of stone. That night, she came down to dinner. He sat at the end of a long table, eating alone. He didn't look up when she entered. "You're late." "I didn't know the time." He sipped his wine. "You should have asked." She sat across from him. The food smelled delicious. Roasted duck, mashed potatoes, grilled asparagus. But her appetite had drowned in fear. "You're not eating?" I'm nervous." "Then why play this game?" Mariama met his eyes. "Because love isn't a game. It's just that sometimes life forces us to bet everything we have on it." Darren stared at her for a long time. "Sleep early. You'll need your energy. I'm taking you somewhere tomorrow." Day 2. The car was sleek and black. The driver was silent. They drove for hours until they reached a village Mariama didn't recognize. Children played with sticks in the dust. A mother shouted at her son to stop chasing chickens. "Why are we here?" she asked. Darren stepped out. "This is where I grew up." Mariama blinked. He walked ahead. She followed. They reached a tiny compound, a small, broken building with one door and no windows. "My mother died here," he said flatly. "She starved herself so I could eat. My father left. We had nothing. So I built everything from rage. And I never looked back." Mariama's eyes softened. "You've been carrying pain like armor." He turned to her. "Don't pity me." "I don't. I just understand now why your heart is so heavily guarded." He looked away. "Let's go." But she saw it, the flicker of emotion. The wall had cracked just slightly. Day 5, he began watching her. Not obviously, but when she walked into the room, his eyes followed. When she spoke, he listened longer than before. He still mocked her, teased her, called her village girl, but the bite in his voice had softened. And at night, she saw a different man. He would sit outside under the stars, drink in hand, alone. She joined him once. They didn't talk, but their silence wasn't empty. It was filled with understanding. She wanted to touch his hand, but she didn't. Not yet. Day 7. She fell sick. A fever gripped her body like claws. She collapsed in the bathroom. A maid screamed. Darren rushed in. For the first time, panic danced in his eyes. He carried her himself, laid her on the bed, sat beside her all night, placing a cold towel on her head. "You stubborn, foolish girl," he whispered, thinking she was asleep. "Why did you come into my life like this?" Day 10. She recovered. He had barely left her side. And now, something has changed. He brought her food, walked with her in the garden, laughed at her jokes. Once, she tripped on the stairs, and he caught her. Their faces were inches apart. "Careful," he whispered. "I might start caring." Her breath caught. "I want you to," she whispered back. He didn't respond, but his hand lingered on her waist longer than necessary. Day 11. The morning air smelled like rain. Mariama stood on the balcony, watching the gray clouds roll in. Somewhere deep in her chest, the ache she had carried for years was softening. like a frozen river beginning to melt. Darren joined her without a word. He handed her a warm cup of ginger tea. She took it, their fingers brushing for a second longer than necessary. He didn't pull away. "Do you miss your father?" he asked, his voice surprisingly gentle. Moriyama blinked at the question. "Every second. I feel like if I breathed too loudly, he might slip away." Darren stared out at the sky. "I hated my father, but I would have given anything for one more moment with my mother. She used to sing me to sleep even when she hadn't eaten all day." Moriyama didn't speak. She just reached out and placed her hand lightly on his. This time, he didn't pull away either. Day 13. The rain fell hard that evening. Moriyama was curled on the couch, flipping through an old photo album she had found in the library. Baby pictures of Darren, a young boy with bright eyes and a gap-toothed smile. So much joy in those old photos. So much pain in the man today. He walked in, caught her looking, and chuckled. "You found my past, huh?" "You used to smile," she whispered. "I used to believe people stayed." He sat beside her. She didn't move away. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Only if I'm allowed not to answer. Why haven't you ever married?" He paused, then looked at her. "Because love is a risk I couldn't afford. Everyone I've ever loved has left, or died, or lied." Moriyama's heart twisted. She wanted to scream, "I'm not like them," but instead, she placed a hand over her chest. "You can trust me." He looked into her eyes for a long time. "I want to believe that." Day 15. Halfway. They were halfway through the deal. 15 days to go. And Moriyama was scared. She had come here to act like she loved him. But something dangerous was happening. She was no longer acting. She had seen his loneliness, his bruises, the soft parts he hid under his suits and sarcasm. And those parts had crawled into her heart and made a home there. But her father's health was getting worse. The hospital called. They needed more money. Fast. Darren had not yet said the words she desperately needed him to say. "I love you." And time was running out. Day 16. That evening, he took her to a private restaurant. No media. No guards. Just candlelight and silence. She wore the red dress he had picked for her. He couldn't take his eyes off her. "You clean up well," he teased. "And you look almost human tonight," she teased back. He smirked. "Almost." They ate in silence for a while. Then he reached across the table. "I don't know what's happening to me," he admitted. "I'm laughing again. I'm sleeping again. I'm feeling." "Is that a good thing?" she asked softly. "I don't know," he whispered. "But when I'm with you, it feels like I found something I didn't know I'd lost." Moriyama's heart swelled. She wanted to say it. She wanted to scream. But she stayed quiet. Because in her mind, this was still a deal, a mission. And what if he only said those words because of the bet? She needed them to be real. Completely real. Day 18. He was different now. Kinder. Softer. Sometimes moody. Sometimes mysterious. But she could see the change. He would find excuses to be near her. To make her laugh. To brush her hand. He once waited outside her door with hot tea just because she had coughed. Even the staff noticed. "You have bewitched our Olga," the housekeeper whispered with a grin. But Moriyama didn't smile. Because her father's condition was now critical. The doctor had given him a week. Maybe she had to make Darren say it. Soon. Day 20. He took her on a yacht that evening. Just the two of them, under the stars, waves crashing gently around them. The night smelled like salt and hope. "I don't want this month to end," he said quietly. "Neither do I," she whispered. Then, slowly, he leaned in and kissed her. It wasn't rushed. It was the kind of kiss that remembered every moment of loneliness they had endured. And when it ended, Darren pulled her into his arms. "I don't know how it happened, Moriyama," he whispered against her hair. "But I think I love you." Her heart stopped. She had won. She had done it. But why? Why did it feel like her heart was breaking? Day 21. She didn't sleep all night. His words echoed in her head. "I think I love you. I think I love you." Was it the truth? Or was it the result of a game they had started? Moriyama stood in front of the mirror, eyes red. She had to come clean. Day 22. She sat him down on the patio where they usually had breakfast. There's something I need to tell you. Darren looked concerned. What's wrong? She gripped her hands together. When I came here, I didn't come just because of my father. I came because I overheard you making a bet. And I use that. I offer myself as the one who could make you fall in love. His face changed. Stone. And I said, if I win, you help my father. If I fail, I walk away. He stood up slowly. You were playing me? No. I mean, yes, at first. But then I got to know you, the real you, and I fell in love for real. I swear it. He stared at her, hurt cutting through his eyes like glass. So this was all part of the game? No, not anymore. But you let me fall thinking it was real. You lied to me. She stood, voice breaking. Darren, please. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, he snapped. You're just like the rest. You wanted something, and you got it. No, I want you. I love you. Don't. He turned away. His shoulders shook. I need space, he said. She opened her mouth. Please, he added. And that one word, please, held more heartbreak than she could bear. Day 23. He didn't come out of his room. He canceled meetings. Avoiding meals. Murayama sat by his door every evening, waiting, but he never opened it. Day 24. She got the call. Her father had stopped breathing. The hospital tried, but it was too late. He was gone, and she was alone. Utterly, completely alone. Day 25. She packed her bag. She placed a red dress, the one from their date, in a small box with a note. Thank you for showing me love, even if it was only for a moment. Then she left. She didn't say goodbye. Because how do you say goodbye to the only person who ever looked at you like you mattered? Day 30. Darren stood in the empty garden, the sun beating down on his face. He had read her note 20 times. Each word cut deeper. And when he found out about her father, when the maid told him she had left the day after he died, something inside him cracked. He had been wrong. So wrong. She had loved him. And now she is gone. Day 31. The mansion felt like a grave. Darren stood by the window in his private study, the same one Mariama had peeked into the first day she arrived. But now she is gone. Her absence wasn't just quiet. It screamed. He poured himself a drink, but didn't sip it. Instead, he walked to the table where the small box lay, the red dress, folded neatly, with her handwriting on a note beside it. Thank you for showing me love, even if it was only for a moment. He read it again, then again, and each time it hit harder. She hadn't used him. She hadn't tricked him. She had loved him, truly, deeply, and all she had asked for in return was hope for her dying father. But Darren, blind with pride and fear, had pushed her away, and now he had no way of reaching her. Day 34. Darren sent out a search team. Private investigators, journalists, anyone who could trace her. He had one clue, a photo she had left in the box. An old, faded picture of Mariama with her father in front of a humble village clinic. The back of the photo had an address, Nkumba region, house number 3, near an old mango tree. He called his pilot. Day 36. The jet landed on a dusty strip in a quiet, rural village. Darren stepped out, suit rumpled, heart pounding. Children watched from rooftops. Elders peered over fences. The entire village knew who had arrived. He looked out of place, out of time, but he didn't care. He asked around. Nobody said anything at first, suspicious of this rich stranger, until one elderly woman pointed. She left yesterday, buried her father, said she was going to the capital, said there was nothing left here for her. Darren's chest caved slightly. He missed her. Again. Day 37. He found her in a run-down hostel, a room barely big enough for one person, no window, no fan. But she wasn't inside. She was on the rooftop, alone, sitting in the corner, hugging her knees. She looked up and froze. Darren? Her voice was barely a whisper. He walked slowly toward her. No suit, no sunglasses, just the truth in his eyes. He dropped to his knees in front of her. "I was wrong," he said softly. She blinked. "Why are you here?" "I came to bring you home." She turned away. "I don't have a home." He touched her hand. "Yes, you do. With me." She didn't speak. Darren took a deep breath. "You came to me with a deal. And yes, it started with a lie. But somewhere in the middle of all that pretending, you healed me. You brought life back into that dead mansion. You made me laugh again. And I didn't just fall for you, I drowned in you." She looked at him. "You broke me, Darren." "I broke myself," he said quietly. "But I want to fix it. Not with promises. With truth." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Her breath caught. "No, I'm not asking you to marry me yet," he said, smiling gently. "I'm asking you to come back. Let's start again. Let's rewrite this story. This time, no lies." Mariama's eyes filled with tears. "And your pride," she whispered. "Your rules." "They're gone," he said. "You broke them." Her lips trembled. "And my father, he's gone. I failed him." Darren shook his head. "He died knowing his daughter fought for him with everything she had. That's not failure. That's love." She closed her eyes. The wind picked up around them. Then she opened them again and whispered, "Take me home." 2 months later, the mansion was alive again. Mariama walked through the halls, barefoot, humming. The air smelled like cinnamon and clean sheets. The staff had returned, not just to serve, but to belong. Darren walked beside her, holding her hand. They weren't lovers pretending anymore. They were partners building. They hadn't rushed marriage. They were taking their time. Healing took time. But love? Love was already there. 1 year later, the ballroom was filled with soft music and fairy lights. Guests laughed, danced, and toasted. And at the center of it all stood Mariama, wearing a simple white dress with golden embroidery, holding Darren's hands as they said their vows. She looked into his eyes and said, "You were broken. I was desperate. But somehow love found us." Darren smiled, tears in his eyes. "And you, Mariama, didn't just save your father. You saved me." The crowd clapped. The lights shimmered. And in the back corner, framed in silver, was a picture of her father, smiling. Mariama placed a flower beneath it. "I kept my promise, Papa," she whispered. "He loved me." Later that night, Darren and Mariama stood on the same balcony where it all began. He wrapped his arms around her waist. "Do you remember the first time you stood here?" he asked. She nodded. "I was scared." "And now," she smiled, "I'm home." And beneath the stars, their story, once written in lies and desperation, found its final chapter in truth, forgiveness, and unbreakable love.